Yes, sir.
Can you roll call for us?
Yes, sir. District Treasurer?
Here.
District Attorney?
Here.
Supervisor seat 3?
Here.
Chair?
Present.
Supervisor seat 2?
Here.
District Engineer?
Here.
District Manager?
I'm here.
For the record, Supervisor seat 1, which is Benny Alvarez, he is on his way.
Why don't we stand, thank you. Why don't we stand for the pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. We're gonna make few adjustments to our agenda today, but before we go into our agenda, Council, will you give us when we speak on the decorum and going here forward, how we're going to conduct ourselves in these meetings?
Sure. So I'm going to pass out, just take one and pass it down.
Yes, sir.
So what we're passing down is a judgment that was recently entered into an Untitled County Circuit Court. I'm going to do this as part of my attorney update, but I'll do it now. So as I think everyone knows, we had Emilio Ismael Ramos, an incident with him here where it involved unruly conduct. At the public meeting, he was given several opportunities to speak, and ultimately there was an altercation between Mr. Ramos and the sheriff's officer that was present, and that ultimately went into a proceeding. He's been there's essentially a trespass order on Mr. Ramos that precludes him from coming on to Central County property. I believe it's for a period of a year. And there was a trial on March 9th, just a week or so ago. And the offense was resisting obstructing an officer, and this was again the event that occurred here. What's important here really is what came out of the case in terms of the public decorum, public comment, and what we as a body should be doing moving forward. I will just really quickly indicate that pursuant to the judge's order, he's been placed under probation. Not later than the 5th of the month, he's supposed to pay $50. He's not allowed to carry, possess firearms. And specifically, he's supposed to submit the random drug testing with his probation officer, and he's on probation. I don't know how long it is here, I don't see it, but I think it was a year of probation. But one thing that came out of the trial was that the judge pointed out that we have a public decorum policy. That is to say, when someone addresses the board during public comment, and we also have that here, on each of our agendas. And the idea is that 3 minutes to provide public comment, and we ask that individuals who provide public comment do so in a respectful fashion, that they direct their comments to the board as a whole, not to any individual on the board, that they do not use profanity or make any physical gestures, just act in a respectful manner. And the board will in turn respectfully consider the public comment. The one thing that the judge pointed out was that the district board in the context of these meetings was not consistently implementing the public decorum policy that was adopted. And the judge sort of chastised the district and said, you need to consistently enforce your policy. I had sent a copy of our policy, and we have a fairly detailed policy. The assistant state attorney was one of the exhibits in the case, and so I think it's noteworthy that moving forward, I think everyone, we all have to be diligent about ensuring that during public comment, it's done in a respectful, professional manner. We let everyone be heard, but that's it. They have an opportunity to be heard. I can tell you, I spoke at a meeting last week in Miami Shores. It's a small county in Miami-Dade County. They have something that looks like a traffic light up behind the mayor. You have 3 minutes to speak. After 2 minutes, a yellow, so it's green while you're speaking. When you have 1 minute left, the yellow light pops up. And at the end of the 3 minutes, the red light starts. And you have an egg timer too, that'll work.
That one don't work.
It doesn't work. But I think now we have something there of Officer Rodriguez.
One thing I want to mention, I believe trespassing is for life. I don't think it's for 1 year. I believe,
I don't know, I doubt it's for life. I believe it's for
is it for 1 year or for life?
It was done indefinitely until you guys vote otherwise. Until the board decides if they want to vote on it or not.
Yeah, gotcha. The bottom line is we've got a Hendry County judge who made it clear that we have a policy, and that public decorum policy cannot be enforced sometimes here or there. It has to be consistently enforced, and if it's not shooting us, that was pointed out. That's what I was saying.
Everybody. All right, thank you. So here going forward, there's a timer in the back. Once you begin to speak, I'll hit this timer. You will have 3 minutes. Going forward, I would ask that you look at your agenda. You can speak on anything on the agenda. After public comments, there will be no comments taken from the crowd, from the public. So if you have something to speak on, please do it now. Put your things up now, and this is the only time we will be heard. So we're moving forward with that. Thank you for that. Do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions to the agenda?
Yes, sir. Under changes on the agenda, we have the Hendry County Elections Supervisor Remedies.
Okay.
That's going to visit us today. And we also have the Hendry County School Board Superintendent. So I recommend that we have them come up first.
Okay.
These meetings can take several hours.
So be it.
I recommend that we move them up.
Alrighty, sounds good. Anything else, John?
No, sir, that's
The adoption of the agenda. So we need a motion to, on the adoption to change. We have a motion on the floor, we have a second. All in favor? Approved agenda for tonight's meeting. Also, I need if we have an approval for the budget meeting minutes for January 26, 2022 and February 23rd, 2022. We get a motion on the floor. We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Santiago. We get a second. We have a second by Mr. Santana. All in favor? The meeting minutes for January and February 2022 is approved. This present moment, which thank you for Sue.
For the record, my name is Brenda Goose. I'm the Hendry County Supervisor of Elections. I just wanted to come and let the board know that we will be accepting candidate filing for seat number 4 for the district. It will be to complete the remaining 2 years of the term. And then they'll run again, or someone else will run for a four-year term later. But this year, it will be up for a 2-year term. Any questions?
And that will take place when?
The
qualifying
district
period.
rates, qualifying period is off the top of my head, I will say June 17th noon to June 13th noon to June 17th noon is qualifying week. Now, you can come in prior to that, and the deadline is sometime in May for filing petitions. You can do 25 petitions or qualifying weekly $25. And you must be a resident of the district, a registered voter.
Qualification.
You want some?
I have a question.
I read your mind, huh? Okay.
May I say, Mr. Chairman, if I may, so I'm gonna ask Becky if you could get from Brenda's office that information so we can put it on the district's website.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sure.
Thank
More than
you.
happy to supply that. Now, there would be no extra advertisements other than what the Division of Elections puts out, Department of State. There will be a 2-time notice, what's called a notice of general election. It'll be all the offices listed that are up in Hendon County for this year. The primary will be August 23rd, but the district race does not appear until the general. It does not matter how many people qualify, it goes straight to the general election ballot.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Did I understand correctly that you would be handling our elections from here on out?
We do handle your elections.
All elections?
No, sir. You did not hear that.
I misunderstood, okay.
No, you did.
Yeah, there's been some confusion about people thinking that you agreed to.
Yes.
Is there?
And that's
I'm
why I
not
figured
sure
here we
where that
are.
confusion came from because no one has presented that to me recently, I will say.
Well, after the last time, I wasn't asked
You know,
again.
a landowner's election is completely different
Yes.
than a popular vote election.
Yes.
You know, and to do a landowner's election in October, when I have my own coming up as a general, especially in a presidential year, that's completely impossible to ask in my office.
Any more
I
questions?
just wanted to try to hear it from you.
Yes, you did hear it from me.
Thank you.
I didn't stammer, right?
No.
I've been begging for years, she's been consistent.
So have I, so she had, yeah.
Yeah, no, you could possibly file legislation to, I don't know, go popular vote with all of them and put them all on the ballot. But to do a landowner's election is completely different.
Any questions? Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Mr. Swindle?
Good evening, Honorable Board, members of the community. I was asked to attend tonight to talk on the topic of a school, of the possibilities of having a school site in Montura and kind of examine the possibilities that we have there. This is Mr. Roberto Sanchez, actually a resident of Montura, and he's our Director of Secondary Education and very well versed with running our schools and the school systems that we have. There's plenty, if other residents would like other copies, feel free to help yourself with those as well. As we look at school sites, just as you as a board, you're responsible for the fiduciary responsibilities of the district that you are blessed with being able to govern and the funds that the taxpayers bestow upon you to do that. We also, from a school district, have that same responsibility. When we look at where and when we put in a school site, it's a little bit intricate. And so I want to make sure that I paint the whole picture for you so that you understand that. And so that we're all kind of on the same page to clear up any further misconceptions about a school site as well. And that at least we're all moving forward with whatever the direction when I leave here that you as a board would like to do. When you look at Florida, the rural part of Florida, which is kind of the center part of the state, we fall under the physically rural constrained portions of the districts, either on the county side and on the school district side as well. If you're in Collier County, Palm Beach County, or one of the counties that has white sandy beaches as a portion of their tax-paying citizens, they don't have these types of conversations. They have the luxury of having enough money to where when the population builds, they simply build a school there out of their own finances, and then they move forward. When we build schools, we have to lean upon the State Department of Education, and they have what's called a Special Facilities Use Fund, knowing that rural districts cannot afford to build a school. An elementary school today is approximately $50 million, just so you'll know. for us to build it to the Department of Education specs, size, scope, and quantity to house students in it today. And so as we talk about where we build a school, number one, we have to qualify for the Special Facilities Use Fund. That's sort of the trigger, if you will, as to where and when we decide to build a school. So when we look at when we build a school, the first thing the metrics that they use on us is, and we're going through this on the western part of the county right now, are we replacing a school that has outlived its useful life? We have a school that was built and put into service in 1967 in LaBelle. It has outlived its useful life.
Sure.
And so we're going through the process now of the steps to build a new elementary school for the rebuilding of that school that is there. Strictly for safety reasons, if you could imagine what that school was built like versus what one would look like and the safety features that are there today.
Correct.
The other metrics would be, are we outgrowing our schools? And if you're outgrowing your schools and our schools are reaching capacity or at capacity and beyond capacity, then that would also trigger the construction of a new school. And then we would have to look at what site would be the most conducive and come up with said property and go about it from that rate. So I've been asked several times about a school in Montura, being able to put a school in Montura, and what I would like to do is to draw your attention to, number one, the blue, the document that's in the blue there, and the data that I had is about a year old with regard to how many permits and folks that are moving into Montura. But y'all live here, so you probably know better than I do without looking at data, that it's off the charts, right? An enormous amount of folks have cleared lots and brought residents here, or weekend residents, or whatever that may be. What we're seeing in the school system, though, is a decline in student enrollment from Montura. And so, and that's what this blue graph shows you. From 2009 until 2021, it's roughly 31 students less today in Montura going to school than what we had. The big 31 is not necessarily the important part. The important part is that it's on a decline. And so that's kind of the trend that we have to follow. The other piece of that, which is the other document that I shared with you, is if we were even on an inclining enrollment of students coming out of Montura, are we at capacity for the schools that they go to? And this other document that you're looking at is broken down by all 5 schools on the east side of the county. And the blue line represents the enrollment, current enrollment today. And the, what is that, orange, the rust colored one, that represents the school capacity. And so if you look at that, that pretty plainly shows you that we're not at capacity. As a matter of fact, we're still north of 1,000 or so, more than 1,000 to 2,000 kids that we could easily take in the Henry County schools on the east side of the district today. So when we go to the Special Facilities Use Fund, and they said, okay, you want a new school, where's your document? How can you justify having that? We're nowhere near capacity at the schools that we have, and so we don't have the metrics today to put a school in Montura. We also don't have $50 million to build one because of the location. So, having said that, the only thing we can do is talk about the options that we do have going forward. Obviously, and this has been 11 plus years we've been talking about this, right? If we have an airport construction where thousands of people wants to flood into the east side of the county, we do believe that that will bring the populace to the area that we would immediately need to be able to build a school. That would be a trigger then at that point in time where we would need to readdress our capacity situation, and then find the said location where that would be. If that was the case, I would absolutely love to discuss that with this board and the residents of Montura, because as you can see today, we're busing 690 or so students, 700 students or so out of Montura every day that goes by. And it makes more sense to have the location and where the kids are than it does to bus 6, 7, and if it grew 800, 900, or 1,000 students all the way to Lewiston to go to school. The other options that Mr. Santana had brought to my attention was private schools or charter schools. And those are schools that are driven by local community. That's not something that a school district will come to you to do or even facilitate for putting in. So if you as a board or you as a residents of Montreal wanted that, then the auspice would be on you then to find the said site, to secure the buildings, the teachers, and the things to make that happen with. And I would support that with whatever ability level that I could and able to do that. We have other private schools and we are education partners because at the end of the day, they're all Henry County students and we want them all educated and successful in life. However, the upfront and the operational cost of that would lie within this board or contractor or however y'all decide to go about that at that point in time. So, to sum it up, the thought of having a school here is a good thought. I totally support that. But until it becomes a numerical need, we have to allow the data to drive the decision that we're making, which is we as a district don't have the metrics today to go to the state and ask them to fund a school here. When that time is right, then I say let's get on top of it.
Mr. Swindle, can I
Yes.
appreciate the information.
Yes.
Can I ask you a couple things?
Please.
I know the board will ask you a few things. Your Montour area students, is this from pre-K to 12th grade, or is this a specific age group that we're looking at?
That's all students. And so what we do, we have our information technologies. We know the addresses of the students, and they can encompass the address of said students that are registered and desegregate that by Montour students. So this is all students.
So it could be from pre-K to 12?
That is correct. That is correct.
The next question would be like, so for instance, I understand capacity and I understand percentages. I know it'd probably be wrong for yourself in the Henry County school system to run our facilities for 100% and not be able to support the students, safety reasons and everything else. What is the number where you have to go to the counties and say, by the way, we're at 75%, 80%, we need to start using R&R funding or start
Yeah.
securing funding sites to make this happen? What is that number?
Yeah, that's a good question. And typically it's 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's right there at it. And so when we get up north of 90, that's when they come in and start doing what's called fish studies. It's an acronym that stands for physical inspection of schoolhouse facilities. And so then they come in and they relook, they reallocate and look and they say, yes, you are above 90% and your trend is that you're growing. And so then we know that we need to start anticipating the growth and expansion of your school system. It's pretty high. They almost make you see the whites of their eyes before they're building your building.
So let me ask you in another scenario, because we don't live in a perfect world. Let's just say we hit 100% from design all the way to completion. Are you looking at 3 to 5 years? How long does that usually take?
We're looking at a school right now for the building of antiquated school technology. And so we're probably 5 years from the student stepping in.
Understood.
Right. Now, that's to construct a school. Now, what we can do is we are able to put up portable type school facilities. They're not the greatest.
Correct.
I don't like them. The State Department of Education doesn't like them, but they will meet the need of an educational facility. And a good example of that is the pre-K that y'all have here in
Yes, sir.
Montour. And so those are two modular buildings.
Yes, sir.
When you walk inside of it, you can't tell you're in a modular building. It's a classroom for all practical purposes. And we can establish that in a very short period of time, in a matter of months. And so, I think I understand what the delineation of your question there. Let's just say the magic wand gets waved, we have an airport, 6 months later, we've got 2,000 more students than what we anticipated.
Yes, sir.
Then we can put modular type classrooms to establish for an elementary school to house students while we're building and getting the funding to build a more permanent school structure.
So, Mr. Swindle, let's just, hypothetically, it does happen without the school board. Let's just say the East Coast and West Coast, they get tired of living and paying
Right.
that high mortgage,
Yep.
and they want to come in and,
Yeah.
and that does happen. Does our school board system have sites in Henry County, or is it tear down and rebuild on what we have?
A combination thereof. So we do have some properties that, as the state and as the county was developed,
Yes, sir.
there are sites that was plotted and set aside for school construction. Ironically, there's not one in Montour.
Understood.
And so we would have, that is something that we would have to discuss, or as a board, if this is something that y'all want to plan for long range, the minimum number of acres is 20 acres that the state will allow us to put a school site on. So if there are sites, if the Central County wanted to trade lots to build that contiguous piece of land, if you wanted to deal with one of your barter with one of your neighboring landowners to go ahead and secure a said school site to make sure that you lock that down, that wouldn't need to happen.
I'm good. Anybody have a question? Ben?
Wait, no, let me ask you, don't we have the students that instead of going to Houston, they go to Lavelle? To the school in Lavelle?
Do we have students that go to Lavelle?
Yeah, from here, from the
I'm not sure. If there are, there's not many. Right, we only provide transportation to the closest local school, which will be close to, so there could be, I don't know that there is or not, so if you had a student that wanted to go there to be on the baseball team or something like that, then yes, but they would have to get.
No, I just asking because, the way, the count would be, they'd be higher.
No, this is to all schools in Henry County.
Oh,
That's not just Lewiston.
okay.
Right.
Mr. Alvarez?
No, quick comment. We offered the property around the clubhouse years ago and basically to, work there. Just something y'all might want to think about. I don't know how many acres is there, but
I don't even know.
Clubhouse has like
I mean,
17.
I'd like for them to know they can come get it anytime.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, something like
They're like
Yeah.
15, 17 maybe.
Right.
Still not enough. Yeah, any question, Mr. Shantel?
no, we had this discussion already.
We did. And I appreciate it. Mr. Santiago's reached out to me individually, Mr. Santana has, and I'm always an open door. If you want to continue the conversation as things develop, as we hope they do, then absolutely. We are seeing on the west side of the county, the
Oh, yes.
influx of folks
For sure.
way more than what we're on the east side.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so we are at some of those capacity numbers now in some of our schools, just so you know.
I think when we started when they opened the airport, I think maybe that time would be,
Yes. I think you're right. I think that really will be the trigger, on what happens in our schools. There's some other development planned in Lewiston, and if that opens up, that'll add more students to our schools, and then we will need to re-engage this conversation.
Sure.
So, other than that, thank y'all for allowing me to be here.
Thank you for
thank you
your
for coming,
presentation.
thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Thank
We
you.
really appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
All right. Appreciate that. Also, just to let you know, we're getting here to go to public comment. When you begin to speak, I'm gonna hit the timer in the back. You have 3 minutes. Miguel Reyes, if you would.
I was just following up with the culvert issue at my house, so I know I missed out in November. I had a stroke late November and I haven't been able to attend the meeting, so wanted to follow up and see what was going on with the culvert.
Mr. Bennett or Herminio, can you shed some light on I guess your question, can you rephrase your question in a different way? As far as culvert being,
Was my culvert gonna be replaced by Central County, or, the last I heard that my culvert was crushed. We've had it checked out, the culvert is not crushed. There's damage to both ends of the culvert, which is minor damages. I think it's on one side of the bent down 2 inches, might have been done by a mower, who knows. Other than that, the culvert's not collapsed, they stuck a pole straight through it. It is completely clogged with dirt. No damage. I don't own a semi, so there's no way that it could have gotten collapsed. As far as Henry County, I reached out to Henry County as far as they're aware of. Their knowledge is once the culvert passes inspection, that's paid by the homeowner, it is adopted by the county. And surrounding counties, Glades County, Highlands County, I reached out to them, the same policy goes for them. I have not damaged the culvert. It's causing erosion on my fence. It's causing the kids that get on the school bus during the rainy season when it clogs up there all the way back to Horse Club, crosses Utopia. So the kids getting on the school bus have to walk through the water that's going across the road. I took pictures, I sent it to the board. I showed you all the washouts causing the fill to come back in, onto the culvert. Other than that, I don't see how I'm responsible for replacing the culvert.
Thank you. Mr. Bennett, let's, even if we did replace that culvert, I don't see his problem going away. I mean, I don't see his problem going away because I don't think it's his road, I don't think it's his culvert. I think it's from the runoff from our road, the way it's slanted. For some reason in that area, it seems there's no vegetation from that road to this culvert area. And you can see on both sides, the left side and the right side, with the rain, you can see where it pitches and takes sediment to both sides of that culvert.
The culvert's pretty close to the turn, the radius. So it is close to the only fix is to regrade this way. Take the culvert out. Shape the roadway. Round, break it up. And shoulder is not vegetation. That's all you can do.
Any comment from anybody else on the board?
Yeah, I would was do you think that the cover of raised of damage because we didn't do the maintenance of the beaches around the cover?
Well, I don't know what caused damage.
Because in a private meeting, you said that it was our fault. You feel it was our fault that the cover was on the thing.
No, what I said was the dirt that got in his culvert was probably due to what the road material washing in the ditch. He obviously didn't go out there and shovel dirt in the culvert. I don't know who caused it in the culvert for that. But yeah, the dirt came off the road. Washed in the ditch.
Again,
No doubt about that.
the ends
Good.
are not collapsed. They're
Bent
top lip is bent down, maybe 2 inches, if that. But it wasn't hit by a mower, by a regular push mower or anything like that. I mean, it sticks out this far. In order to hit that end, it would be impossible to go with a riding mower.
His culvert is usable as we speak, correct?
We don't know that.
No,
We don't know that.
there's no water going through it at all. It's where the end of the down right in the water is actually running around. Water actually running around. I don't know if you got that dirt on it.
This cover has been there since 2005. If it's usable or not, we have no idea.
Gotcha. Have we excavated that area from that road all the way down so we can make
Yes.
sure? So right now, anybody have any questions or comments?
Is there any way can you get anything in there to wash that culvert out?
We can, but we don't have the authority.
Yeah, well,
Because the whole thing over here,
One at a time.
the whole thing over here, we do whatever you guys decide. I don't mind cleaning his cover and everybody else's cover. But the board need to vote that we are responsible for the cover.
and we're not. We've already voted.
Exactly.
That's done. So, but at some point, so if it's blocking our flow, I mean, you just said what had to be done so it worked right. You're talking a lot of time, and a lot of money. So if we get in a bind, is there something else we can do? I guess is my question.
Well, the last meeting,
But we did.
you guys vote that when we start the swell project, if the cover is not right, we rip it off and we leave it open.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
No, we can vote.
yes, yes,
We delay.
no,
So let me ask
So-
the question a different way. We did vote on it. Let me ask the question a different way. we're the ones that are causing the issue in this circumstance. We're the ones causing this issue. We're the ones that are responsible for cleaning the swells and stuff like that. So how do we address that? If this gentleman fixes his issue, how are we gonna maintain our stuff? Because water needs to flow.
What we talked about last time, cleaning the swamps.
Ooh.
CCWCD, we're starting the process. Flacco and John, they're drafting paperwork to start notifying the community of that when we start the process on this road, giving everyone a heads up. When a landowner buys property, it is their responsibility for their culvert. We specified that last meeting, there's nothing we're going to do. It is his responsibility. He'll be notified about it. We're gonna be going through his swell, cleaning out his swell. Either he cleans out his culvert, if it doesn't meet our standard or whatever.
Well, why would I do your job?
He'll be notified about that.
Can't do that, brother.
And then we're gonna move forward after that. That's it. We can't continue on this notion of doing it the way it used to be done.
Sure.
We have to do it like how they do everywhere else. Black and white paperwork. That's it. Cut and dry.
So-
We can't just specify for one citizen to the next, because then we're gonna have a whole line of people saying, well, my culvert needs to be cleaned out. Well, my culvert's messed up. Well, you know?
So how do we hold ourselves accountable then when we're the one causing the issue?
Well, we're starting to do our job. And that's by cleaning out the swamps. And that's what we're starting.
So Mr. Reyes, send an email to us on a monthly basis or a bi-weekly basis to make sure that we're maintaining our swells for you.
Anytime one goes to that dude to with the dirt that's in the culvert right there.
What I would do, my opinion, my advice to you is to clean your part of it, take pictures, and then you send it to the board when it's during rainy. We're getting ready to go into rainy season as we speak, correct? We're getting ready to go into rainy season. Do your part that you're responsible for, and then when you
I
have.
mean, Drinking, y'all been there, there's nothing on my part. I mean, we even stuck a shovel
Yes, sir.
through there, and it's completely, we stuck a PVC pipe just to
Sure.
I know one of y'all brought up that it couldn't make collapse in the
Sure.
middle. We tried it, it's not collapsed, it goes straight through, but it's not,
But it's not-
that is not coming from me.
I understand, so we're not gonna go back and forth in the conversation, I'm just trying to give you some advice.
Right.
We're getting ready to go to rainy season. Take pictures, send them to the board. Here it is, I'm ready for rainy season. My side is good, right? Say for instance, rainy season comes down and the road starts throwing all kind of silt and stuff into your culvert. You send pictures, hey, this is what Central County's road is doing to my culvert that I'm supposed to maintain. And then we'll send Mr. Santiago and the team and all of us will get to it. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I a lot about this culvert. So if the culvert were perfect, George, at the full cross section, it was at the same invert elevation as it is today. At the end of rainy season, would it be full of dirt? Shouldn't fill up like that. But, you know, in a case like his, maybe some areas where we don't have any vegetation on the shoulder to catch the sediment that's running off the road when it's raining. We would get some sediment in the bottom of the ditch over a period of time. It will, the ditches will have sediment in it. It's not going to happen every rainy season. So this is more of a showing or generation problem.
And do we sod, are we sodding around these swell areas to keep the integrity of the cross section?
So, on Miguel Reyes Road, his road was not done just like a lot of other roads. When we did the road and we did the ground, the road is way over the grass. So if it rains like every other dirt road, whatever is loose on top of the road, of course the water is going to take it into the swell. But his swell does have all the grass all the way to the road. Now the road is over the grass because it has a crown now.
I got you. So this is more potentially the road runoff containing sedimentation.
But it's not only the road too, the swell is there.
problem.
So let me ask you, Michelle, is Untitled Chapter proposed?
No, sir, no, sir. No, so we as a board, Mr. Emilio takes care of it.
I heard you say.
Yeah, I'm messing
Oh,
with He knows I'm.
all right. One thing I want to mention for the record. When we discussed about taking the code out of the beach and leaving the place of the code open, I was against it. Okay? Because if somebody needs to go into the property, okay, and they don't have the means, they don't have the money to put a new cover, and we are leaving cover that we took out, we're leaving the hallway there, they have no access to the property. I believe that's wrong. I want to be on the record saying that, okay? I said it that time we discussed, and I said it again, I believe that's wrong.
That's fine. All right, thank you. Mariella Self, please.
My name's Mary Elizabeth for the record, and it's 266 Alameda Film Club. And I just wanted to bring some awareness to the board. Last month, I did ask for some clarification on the budget. And I went back to the beginning of the fiscal budget year. And in August, I wanted to make you guys aware of, I looked at the overtime that was paid from August all the way up to last month. And in August, it was 131 hours and, yeah, it was 131.5 hours of overtime that was paid. In September of last year, 393 hours of overtime was paid. In October, 172 hours of overtime was paid. November was 86, December was 93, January was 213, and last month was 176.75. That means it was a total of $32,000 just in 7 months that was paid for overtime. Now, I don't know how good you guys look at all this material, whatever with the agenda and stuff, but I think it's very important that you guys review this. And I understand that, you guys have the manager who's in charge, and you guys put him there to make these decisions and make good judgment on what he's, whatever functions of Central County. But I think this is very concerning, especially when we don't have a budget that can pay that much overtime. And we're only at 7 months, so I don't know, this month, how much, total it is. So I just want that to be on the record, because I think it is a big concern. And if it's a matter of, staffing, well, I know there was a position that was created for the office staff, but yet still staff is still getting overtime. So if it was because there was, help that was needed, but yet you're still, having to do overtime, is it really staffing issues, or is it a matter of, maybe employees not qualified? I mean, there's something that's going on. There's something that's wrong and needs to be, it needs to be addressed. Because, that is a big concern, especially when we're, at the rate that we're spending money, it is a lot. And if it's going in overtime on top of, the 40 hours a week that everybody gets, it's a lot of money. It's $60,000, I think, just in February. So I just want to make you guys aware of that, because I think that is a big concern.
So what you saying is, we need to hire more employees.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, if it's a matter of staffing, if it's low staff, but yet.
With the meeting, do you think we need to hire some more employees?
Hold on. She's allotted a certain amount of time, so we have to give her time.
Like I was saying, it's not up to me to say whether or not, because again, in the past, you've had less employees, and the work was still getting done. And at this point, you have, I think, I'm not sure if the new position that was created for the staff, if that's part-time, but you're still having office personnel that is getting overtime. If you brought, a new position to alleviate some of that work, but yet you're still having to work overtime, it doesn't make any sense, So, and again, you have most of your employees, you're already working at 40 hours. And on top of that, okay, so on top of that, some of them, are making at least 20 to 25 hours extra every single week. So, I think that's something you guys take into consideration.
Yes.
It was brought to my attention, last meeting, I did look it over, and then I looked into it. Flacco and the team were working on culverts in some of the roads on certain days during the weekend, if I'm not mistaken. And then for management personnel inside the office, there is events that we do that management does have to put together. But I wanted to get a grasp of an understanding of why they need that overtime within our office. So I contacted Lehigh Acres, which has a bigger budget than us, to see a lower scale of comparison from their district, from our district. And to say the least, we're bigger than LaBelle and Cloviston, I always say that. We're growing, and a lot of the problems and a lot of things that happen, it's not like back in the old days where, yes, everyone was scattered out, there was a couple other people, yes, work was getting. You know, we're a smaller district with a very demanding community, a very growing community, and a very different area of work in our community. We have a lot of people who have semi-trucks, heavy machinery, which shouldn't be here, and the list goes on of things. So when it was brought to my attention, it did look off and it did look strange. So when I looked into it, we had a golf tournament that the board agreed on happening, and management and the staff that was there did stay after to help put that event together, as well as planning other events. The meetings are meetings, you know, they have, all that has to be written up and stuff like that, including the day-to-day. So the overtime was addressed previously. We did look at it, we didn't dive into it, but I'll be more than happy to show you a day-to-day operation of what happens here in Montour compared to what happened 5-10 years ago. Because what happened 5 to 10 years ago is not happening now, and there's a lot of stuff that we need to clarify. That, you know, there is work getting done, and it's not going to happen like how we want Amazon or UPS or FedEx, you know, the next day. You know, it's happening over time. So that, on that aspect, there is some things that may be seen, you know, as being used in the wrong way, but I'm more than welcome to walk you through it to show you exactly what's going on.
But I do have one question. I mean,
I can't give you that.
I can ask just one question regarding none of.
That's it. Because of everything that's happened, that's what
It was just a question, I mean, just to clarify something that he had said.
I'm sorry, in 3 minutes.
I'll get with you, I guess. Thank you.
Anybody else? Chris, yourself?
Yourself, 266.
Excuse me, hold on 1 second. Ma'am, are you recording? Are you recording?
No.
Oh, okay, because if you are, you have to sit to the back, but you can record, we don't have any issue recording, but you have to sit to the back.
Yeah, I will on another.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. I had a question about the investigation that's being done about the employing the minor. Who's the one that's overseeing that directly?
Hold on 1 second. Who's overseeing that?
Yes, sir.
I think Mr. Santiago was looking into that one.
Okay. But I had a concern about it, which me and Danny, we spoke about it. So, I was made aware that Daniel lives with the secretary. Is that correct?
Mhm.
So, and I know that you interviewed the mother about the incident a couple weeks ago. So my issue with that, like I voiced to you, is that I believe there's going to be a conflict of interest just because of that, and I don't think it's proper for that to be done. You know, more that you live with the secretary, and you spoke about stuff that had to do with the secretary, and then as soon as you leave, you know, you have to go back to that house. And I just don't feel that that's something right. I think it's a big disservice, and I believe that investigation should be done by somebody else that doesn't have a conflict of interest. Even though there's the supervisor, manager, assistant manager, there's still decisions that could be made depending on how the investigation goes within what will happen. And that was just my point about that.
We still got time, but if there's anything,
Well, one more thing was about the culvert. Whenever y'all talk about the culvert, I know there's been times that these culverts that are installed, sometimes they're buried below the ditch just because of the elevation. And within time, that's going to fill up. And then whenever Central County comes to clean the ditch, it's going to be filled up. And that's kind of like the same thing when we go raise the problem.
Sure.
And if that incident arises, y'all going to have the same problem like what's going on with Miguel. Who's going to be responsible for cleaning it out?
good.
And that's just something I was just thinking, because it's happened before in the
Yeah.
past.
I haven't experienced it yet, sir. Thank you. Anybody want to speak on that?
Do you want me to speak about the investigation now or wait until I'm?
It's up
I
to
got a
you.
quick question. You're talking about the incident about the young man.
Yes.
Wouldn't the sheriff's department be the best one to handle
Yes.
this?
Yes,
Actually,
So let's turn it over to the sheriff, or somebody turn it over to the
They-
sheriff department.
that was part of the investigation. That was, yeah, that was
I mean,
already done.
I mean, the guy left, the
Do you want
guy
me to
left.
speak- do you want me to
We
speak
can't
about
hire
it
him
now,
back
or-
and fire him, so we can't do anything, let the sheriff's department handle it.
Do you want me to speak about it now?
Whatever you want, yeah.
Wait until
I'm
I'm-
just-
It's up to you. Whatever
Yes,
you want
sir,
to
it's up to you.
You want to do it now? You want to do it?
Last meeting, yeah, I'll go over really quick. Last meeting, I asked the board to give me the authority to dive into it to fellow, some information, some little loopholes and stuff like that that I just didn't, seem right with me. I spoke with the mother, the son. I contacted the sheriff's office. There was a report that was done by Officer Dominguez, as well as CCWCD. I'm not the subject matter on incidents like that, so I did contact the legal firm to reconstruct the incident with me. We reconstructed the incident, and with recent events, I told them I would bring any evidence you guys request. We'll sit down, we'll have discussions about it, but I want you guys to come up and give me a verdict of decision. And the meeting that we had was very quick and very brief. They saved us a lot of time and man-hour. They simply, just told me, as if it was night and day. They said, what you're legally allowed to do within your four walls, you did. And it should be left up to the sheriff's office and the mother. And it was up to the mother's decision and verdict to contact the sheriff's office and move forward on that degree with the individual. And when there was some concern about certain information and certain things not being put on reports and etc., it does specify within our investigation that was held by the manager as well as Officer Dominguez that some of that information was there. And now after the fact, it was, like how they said, opinion and not factual. So in court, opinion won't hold up, factual information will. So they said you can go back and relay that message that what was said and what was stated was opinion and wasn't on black and white for factual information. And as the mother of the child, she should have taken that authority to her hands and taken and contacted the sheriff's office. That the CCWCD management did everything in their power. They held an investigation. After they held the investigation, prior to them making their final decision, the employee resigned and left. Then the manager handed over to the Hendry County Sheriff's Office, he furthered his investigation, which there is a report at the Hendry County Sheriff's Office that is public record, anyone can pick up. And that's where the legal team said your investigation should answer. They said there's really nothing, it's just from what I'm hearing and from what was stated from the mother, the son, as well as all the parties involved, is opinion and not factual. And it's up to her now, whatever decision she wants to make against the employees.
Okay. So we're putting this to bed right now.
Yes.
All right, thank you. We'll move on with the agenda. We'll go to old and new business, the scope, vote on presentation.
I think we're up to C.
See, gotcha. I was, that's all, that was talking about earlier. Okay, reselling of key for the reservoir is up. Supervisor Santana, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. I've been contacted by a few residents of Blue Ranch, and they have been asking me, they want to purchase the key. Okay. I talked to Becky, and Becky told me that we decided, we voted here not to sell the more keys to the residents. I would like to bring this issue up, and I believe we should start selling the keys to the reservoir to the residents that they want to purchase a key. So some of them, they go there in horses, some of them, they want to go there walking and hunting and camping, whatever. So in that way we can give them the opportunity to use the facility. At the same time, if you allow me, I would like to discuss the issue about the opening the reservoir.
I think he's going to speak on those reports, but let's get on to this one right here. So you're saying that we're not selling keys at this present moment?
That's what I found out.
I'm asking.
Yes, sir. So I called, Becky when they told me that, and she told me that we voted, not to sell more keys, and I believe that was the case. We voted not to sell more keys, because we closed down the restaurant, so.
For ATVs, for ATV use?
Yeah, that's, so I would like to bring it up, that we should sell the key, so they can have access to the restaurant for, going there, and ride horses, and, go hunting, walking, camping, whatever they want, not for ATVs or vehicles.
Understood. You have a question?
I just got a simple statement.
Yes, sir.
I don't think we ought to sell keys. There's gotta be a way to put a little slot right there where you can walk through. And if you wanna ride your horse through, you can walk your horse through. The minute you start opening that gate, the fiasco is gonna start again. So, isn't there a place there you can walk through? I mean, yeah, we've never closed it for walking or horseback riding, I get it. But just, if there's not an area there that, like 2 poles, and you just walk through it, you can't ride a 4-wheeler through it, but you can walk through
But I
it.
think, well, at this time, we have people that have keys, and they open up the gate, and they go in there with horses, but they open up the gate, and they go in there. So if that's the case,
So can you
they can
clarify?
lose some shit, right?
If there's keys out there, we ought to change the lock.
Can you clarify that for me right now? So,
Which part?
do people have access to the reservoir to ride their horse or walk in there?
That's what you guys vote.
Yes. So we do, people still have keys? Have access?
Until the reservoir was closed, that year, whoever bought it, still has the key. And some others decide to just on the.
And they still going there.
So people still have access, hold on one second. So, the community that has keys still has access to go in there and walk and ride their horses?
Yes, sir.
So is Mr. Santana saying something differently?
Mr. Santana wants to start reselling the keys again, like a yearly, like we always do. Because let's say, there's new landowner,
Yes, sir.
they don't have the key from when we close the reservoir.
They don't have the key to ride or walk inside the reservoir?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
One thing I would like to mention, me, myself, and I never recall, we voted or no to sell the keys. We voted on closing the reservoir for the ATVs and for the motor vehicles.
Yes, sir.
So but Becky told me, I respect that, because I don't have no recollection. We voted not to sell the keys anymore, but maybe I forgot. She told us that we voted not to sell the keys. That's why I'm bringing this up.
I appreciate you
Because
bringing
I
it up.
think, this is what I think, it's unfair that some residents have the key, and they can go with horses, walking, or camping, whatever. And other residents, if they want to purchase the key, they don't have the right to purchase it.
Let me ask, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm kind of lost.
Okay,
We sell the keys annually to the landowners, correct?
Yes.
But it's yearly. It's not monthly, it's not on a day-to-day basis. It's just every year we update the
Monday
key.
through Friday.
So what he's asking for is a daily to monthly thing, or to go back to the yearly?
Yearly.
Well, we already do that as of right now.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Let's say myself wanted to purchase a key, I don't have to do this person. So if I wanted to purchase a key, I would not be allowed to at this present moment.
Right.
And we voted on that?
Yes. It was all the same package with the closing of the reservoir.
Yeah. It's all this very easy. Change the lock, put an area that you can walk through, or ride your horse through. You can't ride 4-wheelers through, it's done.
So we can get rid of the guard.
You start giving away keys again, I'm telling you, they're gonna start.
So we can get rid of the guard that we're paying just to sit there.
Yeah, my gosh, yes.
Go ahead, babe. Shed some light for me.
Sure, you guys voted on no selling of the keys and to start paying back the refund of the key.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's why there was no more selling of the key, and we've been sending out checks, and we call them to verify, that's why we stopped selling the key.
Understood.
And so, that's why when Mr. Santana asked me if we were selling the key, I told him no.
We stopped selling the key because you guys voted on not selling the key and refunding everyone from that year on.
Yes.
And because of the investigation that we had with South Florida Water Management and still working on the up trails. So eventually, hopefully, we can reopen it up as the board sees fit. Once that would take place, then you guys again would have to decide if you're gonna sell the key. But those that still have the key, because they didn't want to surrender their key, they have access to go in there and they ride their horses and they walk back there. Because they can't ride back there. And that's why the guard is still there to make sure whoever does have access there is not riding. They're either walking or they're on a horse. So some people did return their key, they came and got their money, and others still prefer to keep their key until further notice. And once you guys decide whatever it is, I have people still calling me to this day. Did the board decide? I'm like,
Every day.
they're still,
As far as riding horses or
as far as trying to open it back up to ride in the uplands now.
ATV use?
Yes.
Yeah, that one we have to hold on.
Yeah, and that's what I tell them, And some people did mail their keys back, we check it off. I could tell you how many checks we've returned for refund. Those people don't have the key. And so that's just, we followed the instructions that you guys gave us, but that's what it is.
I like Benny's idea, to put a little walkway, change the lock completely, no one has access to it, and eliminate the guard, we save all that money that we pay for a guard to sit there.
Do we have cameras shooting that way?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm cool with that.
Because it's a waste of money of them just sitting there.
John, do we have any obligation, any thing that rights?
It's a waste of money.
I'll be honest with you, I always thought people had access for walking, riding, I thought that was never stopped. I didn't realize that
So
was
there wouldn't be a need to sell. Go ahead, you want to finish off?
No, that's the easiest way. Get rid of the guard, don't spend the money, make a nice little walkway where you can walk. Nobody said anyone couldn't walk or ride a horse.
Yeah.
You can get through there anytime you want and save all that money that we're spending right there. That's what I'm
I
doing.
agree, I agree.
Can you make that
And
happen?
it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, we can make that happen, but we still gonna have to keep one gate with a lock for the emergency.
Sure, yeah, definitely. You change the lock, yes.
We're just talking about an access for
Right.
human beings
Walking
and
and,
somebody on a horse.
sure.
Just enough for a horse to get by and some humans to interact, but also make sure our cameras are working very, very well, just in case
Yeah.
people try to do some suspicious
Both
things.
sides.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak about lowering the pressing board for ATVs and
Bring that up on your
Item F.
Will you have it up there?
Talk about it.
Becky, can I say something?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to tell you. They weren't going to tell me that.
Well, no,
On the
'cause
agenda?
they're gonna talk about it now in letter F. They're gonna talk about it right now. It's on the agenda.
Relax, let me tell you. Relax.
It's here, brother. It's here.
Just say it's on the agenda.
Yeah. I make sure they're gonna talk about it now.
Oh, okay.
Wait, for the record, do we have to vote on what Mr.
I think so. It's just something that was open in the.
Okay, we just.
Well, if you guys decide to vote into something, is for the security guard.
Yeah, we have to vote.
You know what, let's do it, so she has her own record, so
Yes.
we don't forget later.
Yes.
So the motion is, we get rid of the security guard, we're making openings so people can walk in and out.
Can't do
and
that.
Change the lock.
We can't do that. Because we specifically need to stick to our order.
But it's on here as an amendment for the reservoir.
No, it's on the agenda.
And
It's on the agenda.
reselling of keys of the reservoir. It's on the agenda.
It's long there.
It is not on the agenda.
Taking up the security guard is long there.
You better go to a different house, but it's not on that house. It is not.
All right, I'll make a motion that we amend the agenda.
We need to put it on the next one. Because again, the community, we need to speak on it. If we're gonna vote on stuff.
Yes, sir.
If we're gonna vote on stuff, the community needs access to vote on something, to speak on it. So definitely put it on the next agenda.
Can you put the next agenda that I want to discuss about? The ATVs.
I'm sorry, bro. Here we go.
Hey, you know myself, I have ideas.
And again, we wanna be right.
Thank you.
If we say one thing, we can't do another. Yes, sir. All right, discuss the contract on the C-139 drainage and adjacent property. Is that yourself, Mr. Alvarez? Is that that property that drains onto our?
Did you get the?
No, you were gonna,
I forgot to call him because I thought he had sent that in. He's got the paper, he's just gotta sign it and send it back. All right, I'll call him first thing in the morning.
So, with the chairman,
Yeah.
yes,
And I told him.
so, are we gonna build a gate there, so the horses can go through and, people can go?
It will be an entryway where a person and a horse can go through in and out.
We already gonna vote?
We can't, we don't, it's not on the agenda.
It's not on there. They call me, I'm gonna tell them we're gonna vote, next,
We're gonna specifically have it on the agenda because there might be somebody in the crowd that might want to discuss something about it. Thank you. All right, so let's try to get this buttoned up with this drainage as much as possible, Becky, Vinny.
I'll call him in the morning, I thought he had sent it.
All right, we're going to E, purchasing of monument signs, 3 monument signs from Montura.
yes, if you look at your binder, on your, right-hand side, I put, the display of all 3 signs. One for Montura and Woodland and Flaghole. The one for the clubhouse, which has an LED sign, and then the main one that's right in Avenida del Club. I even, I asked if there was any special financing that we could do if we decided to do all 3 or just one at a time. The pricings are there. Stewart signs are very popular here in the state of Florida. A lot of their signs you've actually seen in different areas throughout Florida. And those are the sketches, as you can see, what it would look like. And the one in front of the clubhouse has the LED sign, so you could see it as you're coming down Avenida del Club or any other side roads. And so this is what Mr. Bennett and us had been working on, and I reached out to them, and
We have a price breakdown.
yes, sir, it's there. All the pricing is right behind each sign. You'll see it, and then on the last page of that packet, you'll see the financing for each individual sign, and then for all 3 if that's,
You know, maybe put more alternatives on, huh?
yes, sir.
So I see one. See the little one. This little one is the one for.
For Flaghole and, yes, Flaghole and Woodland.
The financial is not.
It's just one sheet.
It's in the back.
It's in the back, yes, sir. It's got the percentage and it has each, it has the breakdown.
Mine definitely doesn't have.
No?
Oh, I see it. So out the door price is 24,072.
That's for one of them. Yeah,
Yeah, but the financial page is uneven. The one that includes the monthly.
So I'm looking at the one in front coming in from Flaghole to Woodland. That's 10.5. The one with the LED screen in front of the clubhouse facing Avenida del Club. would
it's
be
like 2472 or 74.
2474.
Each sign is their breakdown,
But we have,
the finance
yes.
with all of them.
This,
Or
it
all
should
of
be
them
divided
together.
like this. Oh.
And where is this
Okay.
third one supposed to go?
That
That's
is,
to replace the big one we have in front of Mary Lou's,
In
right
front of
Mary
Mary
Lou's, the
Lou's.
entrance, so that they all look uniform. No, it's the same one. I'll get them their copies.
Oh, they can have it.
Okay.
And that one is 24 as well.
Yes.
24.
That's the 20-foot one. Yes, sir.
48 plus 10 is 58,000.
to be surcharged for all three.
I think it's on the other half that Santana grabbed.
John, we got any free money over there for you?
I mean, that was one quote from one company.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just kind of throwing it out there because they actually came back the quickest with the design.
Yes.
I haven't had any other ones send me anything as of yet, but as they do, I'll bring it.
Can we get two more, please?
Yes, sir.
And is this the actual, what it's gonna look like? Or?
Yes.
Yes, that's what it would look like.
And so what about, Mr. Bennett, what about as far as permitting and that kind of stuff?
If you go with these guys, I think
They pull the
They
permit.
put the permit and everything.
So like for instance, to do this LED one, is this all solar or they're gonna run power and the whole 9 yards or how's that work?
That's power.
Power.
Isn't this the same company that did that sign on 80?
I think they did one in Lehigh. I have a list of the different, in the office of the different places that they've done it.
Thank you for that information. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, as soon as I get over this heart attack, I'm gonna say,
You gotta find some money.
do we not agree that there's a million people coming in this area? I mean, they're just coming in here? So do we
Yeah.
need to advertise, really? Do we really need to spend that kind of money on signs that we don't have?
Well, one would be good. One would be good coming in from Flagler for sure. A lot of the residents says, hey, we don't have an entrance.
Yeah.
But I think the most important one, preferably for myself, is one that's informational. The one in front of the clubhouse that will be informational because it'll be an LED screen. We can promote, hey, by the way, there's a food drive, there's a hurricane, there's a special meeting. It can be very informative.
Yeah,
My personal opinion.
yeah, no, I agree. And put in an LED, a big LED screen somewhere would be great, but dang.
On three.
We're asking the county for money and we're
We ain't gonna
throwing
get-
money away on signs. I mean, that's,
We ain't gonna get it.
yeah, it's puts us in a bad place.
But again, you can have a wish list. We can have a wish list.
Oh, yeah, we have, wish
Figure out ways to get it.
I wish we could.
Thank you, Becky. If you can find a few more, we'll see what we can do. Any more questions for that? Do we need to vote on this, Becky, or what? Because I'm pretty sure.
No, because I'm gonna get 2 more quotes.
Thank you. Appreciate it so far. And these quotes are valid for a year?
No.
Probably ain't no good now.
Wait till you pull it up.
I'll be 60 tomorrow.
And then we have, thank you. Then we have reservoir mitigation possibilities. Okay.
So, the Bear Environmental Consultant and myself had a meeting earlier in the week.
Thank you, sir.
With South Florida Water Management District staff to discuss the reservoir.
Yes.
So the map you have in front of you is a map that was prepared by our environmental consultant based on aerials and soil maps and the National Wetland Inventory. So what's in green is upland. That means areas that we could use in the future for ATVs. So just to kind of orient yourself, so the areas.
One green.
Green is upland, good. The little blue specks there are potential wetland areas, and we're pretty sure they're wetland areas.
Sure.
So we went through several, I have several different maps. So for example, the consultant looked at, you see that upland area to the north?
Yes, sir.
So he did a little trail connecting this upland area to that little upland area in the north. And we did some cost-benefit analysis. The wetland impacts that would be caused by the trail to connect these two, given this is a small area, just don't make sense. And if we were to connect the trail, it would have to be bermed up, fenced up, so people wouldn't turn off the trail and go into the wetland area.
Sure.
So, and every time there's a wetland impact, think money.
Of course.
So we tried to maximize the upland area and minimize the wetland impacts. So for example, the most important wetland impact is right here in this kind of south western quadrant. We're connecting two big upland areas. So we really want to do that. So that little snippet there, just that's about 6 acres of wetland impacts.
Okay.
And so think 6 figures for that snippet, that little guy right there.
You can sit right there.
So, and then there are, you know, there's a little wetland in the middle of the large upland area. So we have to mitigate for that too. You know, again, if you do cost benefit, are you gonna like build a fence around it? You know, probably not, doesn't make sense. So we might as well mitigate for it.
So how many acres we have in total?
Do you know what the total in green is?
The total, it was like 700-ish.
That's 300 more than we thought, so.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, now, this is his opinion. We went over it with the senior staff, the water management district. They said, kinda looks good, but we're gonna go out to the site with our consultant.
Sure.
They're gonna meet in a few weeks. They wanna get out there before the wet season.
Sure.
Because it's gonna be harder to get around out there, so. The next few weeks, they're gonna go to the site, they're gonna pick some areas, it's called ground truthing. You go out there and you pick some areas to make sure that our consultant is doing it accurately. So this would essentially be the plan. The green areas with this connection would be the areas where ATV use is allowed. All the other areas, it would be prohibited. The money comes in 2 ways. Number one, for mitigating for the impacts to the blue areas. Okay, the purple areas are wetlands that we cannot go into.
Sure.
We call those preserved wetlands. So for those, you put up a sign, you know, preserved wetland, protected by state and federal law, do not enter. And hope people do not enter.
What about the rest of the?
That's, you can't go in there. You could, only the green.
The dark green.
You, with a horse or with your legs, you can go anywhere you want, anywhere. With an ATV, only in this green, these 2 green areas.
So that top part over there by, I think that's Horse Club.
Yeah, that
That's
would
pretty
not
much
be
it.
allowed, that would not be
It
accessible.
doesn't make sense to mitigate that.
No,
Correct, okay.
because to get up, the wetland impacts to get up there would be significant.
Understood.
And then policing, you also have to be practical too. That's a long trail, and, you know, people, you know, if you're on an ATV and the tendency to pull off the trail, you see a mud flat.
Can you ask, on that upland up top, can you ask our gentleman that's doing our mitigation, our consultant, if we can turn that maybe like to a family park area?
Yes.
Since it is an
You don't
upland,
have to ask them, you
we
can
can
do
use it
that.
for ecosystem.
Which one?
A walkway.
So the question is
What?
getting there.
Yeah, I was just gonna
We
say.
would have to make it, we'd have to put a culvert.
Can we open an entrance right here?
I'm pretty sure anything's possible.
You,
Can we open an entrance by this way here?
okay, so we actually talked about it.
Okay.
And actually, the consultant wanted to put an entrance here, somewhere around here, to get to this area, to even save this cost. The district did not like
Okay,
that
good
idea.
Okay.
The district didn't think it was a good
Who
idea.
did this?
South Florida.
This government.
I think we should.
Let me explain why. So, I'm gonna give you a whole picture here, and talk about some of the Santana stuff too. So, we looked at these alternate things, and, you know, one thing you're gonna hear from the district is, you guys have to police it.
Yes.
We want to put 50 entry points. Number one, they don't like it because this, remember, this was permitted as an above-ground impoundment. You start having people go over the impoundments, and over time, they're going to degrade. So they weren't happy about that. Could you come up with something? Sure. But it's going to cost money because you would have to reinforce that area of the road. Because it's going to be, you know, vehicular traffic over the years, it's going to degrade, because it wasn't meant, you know, to handle that. But
When you go,
you can do anything you want. It's all about money.
Oh, I know,
You can build a bridge
everything's one.
from here to here, and it'll be perfect.
Put a school.
It costs money. Yeah, and put a school in.
Now,
So the purple areas would make this cost, would make this $500,000. So we're calling them preserve areas. So keep in mind, there's gonna be the wetland impacts and mitigation.
Sure.
We'll have to do some planting and 5 years of monitoring and maintenance to keep exotics out. And then we would have to prove to the district that we are gonna police the site. That means security, fencing, signage, and they actually liked the idea. They suggested that we prepare a brochure talking about the wildlife values and benefits of wetlands.
So we can partner up with that. We can partner with a few agencies. That's good.
So
I like it.
that's kind of where we're at.
Can you send
And
that?
I even
also?
asked them about a mitigation plan. And they did not like that idea at all. I'll tell you why. Well, listen to their rationale. They go, look. So I told them, you know, that this is a double-edged sword. They go, this is a reservoir with a berm. It was constructed for one reason. When it rains a lot, you fill it with water. So you can't manage it as a reservoir and turn it into a wetland mitigation plan. You can't have it both ways, because sometimes managing it as a reservoir hurts wetlands.
Sure.
Of course, and I said, then why are you busting our chops on these damn wetlands that are impacted by ATVs? So they're talking out of both sides of their mouth, in my opinion.
Yes, yeah.
But, you know, wetlands are wetlands. But they shot down the mitigation bank. Again, I understand the logic. But then, when we got really bad storms, wetlands can drown. Wetlands like water, but they're like Goldilocks.
They're sensitive.
Not too much, not too little, just right. And so, anyways, that's kind of where we ended it, so we're moving forward.
So there is a potential there. There's
The only issue, it's gonna get open, and we're gonna have ATV access. The only question is, how much pain and money will it cost? That's the whole battle between now and that day, is how we can keep our costs down.
So can you give us feedback on that meeting? Is this in reference to that meeting he had with the district? Is this the
Yeah,
feedback? for the-
I was in on it too.
Okay.
He went in person and I Zoomed. I did a Zoom.
Gotcha. Can we get some, okay, everything that came out and what we would, so.
They
is
want
it-
to work with us. They wish this never came before them. This is for them. This is something they would prefer not to do. There will be flexible with this.
Gotcha. So, with us, for us to go forward, we need to present a solid plan, a solid.
operation plan?
Yes.
SOP or whatever.
So it's going to be a mitigation plan. That means, planting little wetland vegetation, monitoring it, watching it grow for 5 years.
Sure.
And then the signage, fencing, and then, for example, in areas where, I haven't been out here, but I'm assuming like there are areas where you see a trail, and maybe going into a mud flat.
Sure.
We have to close off those trails.
Correct.
Lots of work, we do that ourselves. Maybe burn it off, so, but, just putting fencing around everything is possible. So we're gonna have to pick a few areas where there'll be fencing, a few areas where there'll be signage, maybe at the entrance of a kiosk about the importance of wetlands, wildlife habitat, some brochures. They like that, they want to do that.
Good. So, what is our path forward?
So path forward is our consultant and the district meet on site and agree on these wetlands. This is our consultant's opinion.
Sure.
Of course, he's working on our side. They may say, oh no, move that line a couple hundred feet this way, move that line that way.
They
Do
could.
a little horse trading. But I think it's not gonna look wildly different than this.
Okay.
I got a quick question for Becky. Becky, how many keys did we have out?
We had 189 keys.
$1,000 a pop, we can do it.
I don't think it's a problem. I know people have big bucks, so I have.
Oh, no, I,
I ain't worried about the money.
La llave de la ciudad, gracias.
We just need to make sure it's full. We just wanna make it foolproof. So they don't have any, hey, you guys did, we work with the best financial practice.
Is that an issue we have?
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. No more, no more.
So we are, our goal is to reopen the restaurant.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
For 8 tickets.
Good job. You have done a good job. And then, say, we get some, money there for pay all the costs that we was doing in the restaurant. Sure.
All right, Mr. Emilio's probably using the restroom, so we'll move forward. Thank you, Mr. Romero. Mr. Bennett, you want to go ahead and go with your engineer's report, or what? Mr. Bennett? Mr. Bennett.
Our restaurant, utility purpose, we probably next final month, extend the power line, very yes, sir. Still working on that. Annual type inspection. Clubhouse, air conditioning project.
Good.
Signs, we did some plans for some signs, taller than these, we do have those in case we had decided to put some of these.
Thank you, sir.
The other thing is we have to do an annual report, C-139 basement, we have to prepare that.
Is that the one with test for total P as well?
Yeah.
Total phosphorus?
Yeah. That's all right.
Anybody have any questions for the engineers? I have one for you, Mr. Bennett. When people call in like for 811, do they contact you guys' office? No cuts and stuff like that? No? That's us. Do we have a thing that we need to have? Like, I'm trying to see what I'm saying. Like, for instance, say we're going to go run a line to such and such a place. Is there a form that needs to get filled out to say, by the way, somebody signed off on it?
They send an email to Becky always, and from the offense, they send the check.
Okay, so then, go ahead.
They send in a permit of where they want to throw the lines. I forward that to Mr. Larry Bennett's office. He looks over the specs and he signs off on it, sends it back to me to keep a trail. And then I forward it back to Lambert Cable's one of the ones that are throwing the CenturyLink lines.
Literally.
Century,
Literally.
yeah.
Throwing.
Yeah, throwing. I know. You're right. But again, they're one of the main ones. And then we have also Blades Electric. Those are the two main that.
So let me ask you, this other question is the QC part of it. Nobody on our part does the QC? I guess it's not our responsibility.
No.
They are supposed to be calling and letting us know when it's working.
That was going to be my next question, because I've seen crews working out here unidentified on Saturdays. And I'm like, that usually is not the norm.
I normally, when I drive by, I always ask them,
Sure.
and they normally have the paper with them.
Good, permit? Yes, sir.
What do you think they need to sit down there?
I spoke to Lambert Cable, especially in regards to the one that
Okay.
we addressed on Hunting Club. They did change, they subcontract out. So, you know, they changed their whole way of doing it. Because we had an issue with them being there without a permit.
Okay.
So we did address that, and Diane is the person that I speak with. She told me that that whole company, subcontracting company that they were working with are no longer with them, because that wasn't just here, it was wherever they sent them to. So,
We do have records of all those permits.
yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
They don't call us.
And they do literally just throw the cable.
Yeah.
Well, my only concern is when we do this material-wide drainage, we're gonna rip that thing to pieces.
We already have,
Okay.
and they have come out and literally see it. It's 6 feet,
6 feet?
6 inches off the ground.
That's a good, I've seen someone, that's a 2 inch.
Barely after the trash.
Well, but they are aware that
Okay.
they're not only on the wrong place, but they're only this much down.
Understood. Okay. I was just thinking, the reason for that is, I know we have to run CenturyLink, stuff like that, but if they run it in that right of way instead of in that swell, because they're gonna tear us
They're
there.
supposed to be back close.
Yes, sir.
Supposed to be at least 30 inches deep.
Understood.
The one you called me on that Saturday, did I send you the pictures?
No.
Okay, so I went over there and, I mean, you can literally see the cable, just like walking next to it, because they do the machine and it's only like an inch wide. And the orange cable, I just dig it out a little bit to measure, and it was 6 1/4. That's it. And it was right in the middle of the ditch. Right in the middle. That's why when we clean out, we literally well, I wasn't there at the moment. Mata did call me, but he went by, and I think they were very rude to Mata or something like that too also. They didn't want to answer him or whatever. And that's where everything started. They are changing the company who's doing it.
Thank you, Mr.
I was there, I
Thank you.
heard the same.
Manager?
Judge.
Report, please.
So, we already start working on,
Sure, yeah.
the summer camp, getting counselors and everything, you know, we have to send people to get the background level 2 and all that takes a lot of time, especially when it's kind of hard to get counselors. We also separate uniform applications for the highway maintenance that we have open over here, which is going to happen on Monday, on Friday or Monday. We are spending a lot of time rebuilding roads. I don't know if you guys noticed, we just finished almost every single quarter mile on Avenida del Centro, plus some of the roads, and we are eventually working on Avenida del Centro from 833 all the way to Hacienda. No, Avenida del Centro, the one behind there is
Yes, that dirt road that hits Hacienda. Yes. From 833 to Hacienda. Yes.
We're still cleaning canal, picking up trees. The trees that we're picking up now is the one that we have to leave behind because they were thick and long, so we have to go there, cut it with the chainsaw, so we can fit it in the truck and bring it over here all that is basically done, it's only one more pile to pick up. Cleaning swells, we mowed the entire reservoir and the bottom of the level 2. We sold 30 permits, we fixed a lot of potholes over on both Cypress and Post Club, also Camino Rio. Our mosh head is already working on Ventura. It's already working. We got it about 2 weeks ago. We put it all together with the new hoses and everything because we're doing some extra hoses and everything.
Yes, sir.
It's perfect. It's doing a
Just be careful with
job.
it. It's a dangerous piece of machinery.
We did our training and we also have the employee that is working with it, practicing on a road that is completely empty, no fences, no houses, no nothing. And he's on his way. We're already on Ventura. Daniel asked me and I took him to the right so he can see it.
Please be careful with it.
Yeah, it's saving us a lot of time and money because now we don't have to go back and pick up the branches and all that stuff that we have to do, you know, the bobcat, the trucks, all that. We're still picking up trash around on Ventura, especially on the back roads. It's been increasing daily for whatever reason. It was kind of normal for 2 or 3 months. Now it's picking up again, especially tires. The main concern about the garbage is the tires. And I said the main concern because we have found piles of tires that I don't truly believe is from our residents over here. Because we just picked up a pile that was like 81 truck, regular tires all together. Like, I mean, I've seen properties with 20 tires, 30 tires, but 81 tires is a big pile. And I also had some calls from some residents telling me, hey, I've seen trucks coming into Ventura with a trailer with a lot of tires on it. So I haven't seen any, but it's, I mean, if you look at the pile, you can see it's, and they have marks, you know, like white marks, like it has it was a flat tire at one time, and you know, like what they do when they change the tire. We just did the soccer tournament at the clubhouse. It was awesome. You went by, Daniel went by. The pool is being open. It was open during spring break. If anybody asks, the pool will be closed during the school time. It will reopen every weekend until the school is over, and then it will remain open through the summer after 3 p.m. on the weekdays. It's always been like that. If you guys want to change it, you're more than welcome. And then the weekend is going to be open just regularly. When the school starts back on, it closes for the rest of the year until it opens up again. Right now at the clubhouse, there's a lot of painting going on, a lot of pressure cleaning. The guardrail is coming out really nice. And then from there, we're going to jump into the pavilions, which we're expecting to be ready with all the paint by April 16, which is our Eastern event. By the way, thank you so much for all the help on the Easter. And we are getting ready for the basketball tournament.
Anything else?
No.
Anybody have any questions for the manager?
Yes. I contacted the sheriff's office that pertain to the investigation as well as it pertained to illegal dumping. They told me to contact a few people. I contacted them. They said what we should start doing is when our highway individuals see these big piles of debris, as well as picking it up, to photograph it and report it to the sheriff's office so that they can have an open investigation. Because they had 2 investigations with tire shops in Clewiston that are loading the tires and bringing them out here and dumping them. because it's free compared to them having to pay for it. They do have photos of some of the employees who are residents here. So what they're thinking is happening is that they're taking the tires from their shop, driving them over here and dumping it. So they said the more information and evidence that they have that pertain to these people can help them build a case. So they said because we're the government body of this district, when our highway patrol people are out there picking up trash, they see it, to document it, take a picture. If anyone in the community calls or complains about this, always tell them, reassure them, take pictures and email it to our office so that we can get it to the sheriff's office so that they can crack down on it. One of the people that the shops that they're investigating, there was something else that they also were investigating too. So they just wanted me to note that the more evidence that they have can help build that case and getting it stopped.
Tag number, we need
Yeah.
tag number.
The worst part about the tires is that the worst spot is right there, right when you turn into Woodland Boulevard, you go into Pine Cones, you know,
Yeah, they
right after they turn, normally they throw it to the right side, because there's an empty lot there. But we have take out no less than 100 tires from inside the canal.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's as much as we can see.
No, they actually have they put cameras, hunting cameras, and they caught the truck that's doing it. They just can't pinpoint an individual. So they have the vehicle, it's an all black Ford 250 with a dump trailer, that they actually have video footage and pictures of backing up and just dumping them there. They just need to catch an individual who's doing it. So that's why they said the more evidence we got,
Yeah.
that can pinpoint it.
I suggested that we put those cameras out a long time ago.
Don't you have a backup?
We still haven't done it, June, and if you spread, the more you got out there, the more angles you're gonna have.
Yep,
and
and
eventually-
that's exactly what I told them.
Suggestion.
I
You
said,
know,
we gotta find someplace to have it.
Betty.
Benny, that is my fault. We did go the camera. I just haven't.
You just gotta start setting them
Oh,
up.
yes. But we
The more
did.
you got, the more chance you are of seeing that person, then we got you.
We did bought the 3 cameras. We did both. We did.
Let me ask you something. When do you think we're gonna be able to put the stop signs in Pine Cone and all those streets that don't have the stop sign that we spoke about? a few
We
minutes ago?
have.
You have put the stop
We
sign?
have about 3 times already. So if you went by today, for example, he's not there, they just knock it down again. We have.
No, let me give you an example.
I mean, you have put new stop signs in those roads out there?
Let me give you a good example.
So somebody's taking it away. Somebody's taking it away.
Well, some of them, you can find them, they just take them down and they just throw them
Really?
in the grass, yes. I mean, I'm glad they just throw it in the grass because every one of those signs is $50.
One thing I want to ask you, Mr. Benny, I never heard of you mentioning again, and before I remember you mentioning many times. What about the shooting on the stop signs? They were shooting the stop sign.
Well, that's still going on, especially on the backside.
Because I tried to patrol during a volunteer. We tried to patrol at night time to see if I see anybody shooting.
Well,
I haven't seen
just to give you a simple example, we changed, the double arrow right in front of 9 and 10. I think it's 9 and 10. We changed it. It last maybe like 3 weeks. It was literally cut in half by shotgun shots. Literally.
I've been trying to keep an eye on the stop sign to see if I see the holes, right? I haven't seen so many shooting on the stop sign.
If you do find it, you have a two-way radio, you can call Officer Green. Can you get them
I have, hey, let me tell you, are you there?
Yeah,
I called the dispatch. Whoa.
You can't go directly to Officer Green?
I have his personal phone and we have a two-way radio connected to each other, so we can communicate.
Mr. Manager, on this list, can you, I know we're getting ready to go into rainy season, the ones that haven't been addressed, if we could address these, the sooner the better. Also, my next question, can you look into, I've got a few, it was very good concerns actually. I said, Mr. Mata, you know, it's very hot out here right now. And thankfully, the Central County purchased some equipment for the kids to play on in the park. But they're saying, you know, the heat of the day, 2 or 3 o'clock, and a child getting on these pieces of equipment, if they burn themselves pretty good. Can we look into, it don't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to be fancy, some type of covering, not only in the playground area, but also, is there any way we can look at doing some cabanas in the pool area? And the other most important thing is,
What there is,
there's not a lot of shade. There's a few. So this summertime, there's going to be more people than there was last time. Also, Mr. Ferrer, I have a question for you in reference to if there's companies that want to donate and put structures up of shade and stuff like that. What do they need to do, or what do we need to do from them to? Is there anything that they can sign, waiver, or?
I mean, are they gonna do construction work?
It would be like installing a chickee for those types of things, or structure for shades to donate to our community.
So if they're gonna bring Lynn, of course, I have some new work, then I have a simple one-page, you know, hold harmless, you know, just ask, you have workers' comp insurance, yes.
If you can present that to Emilio and get it to us, so I've got some people that would love to donate to things. It'd be great. And we need to share it out.
so you want me to look into like those canopies,
Yes.
colorful canopies and all that stuff for the,
On a Montura budget.
no, I know.
It won't be colorful, it'll be one color.
Black and white, get one color, black and white.
I was asking because maybe, I know those canopies, those triangles, they sell them separate.
Sure.
So, you know, we can do something in-house, buying the canopies as long as, you know, Mr. Ben find out for any permits or anything like that.
But for the record, like Mr. Santana, for the record, I don't want to blue tarp. I don't want to blue tarp candles.
No.
Which one that goes through the cable that you can buy out?
Yeah.
Which one right there? Which one goes right there?
Those are very good.
Which one?
The ones that are breathable.
And then we don't have to buy.
Which one you talking about?
The blue ones that we put on top of it. So if you can look into that, and if we can do a lot of that stuff in-house, and if you have to utilize, you know, like engineers or their permitting, that type of stuff, let us know. I think that'd be a great idea, because they did mention that even some of the ladies that take their kids out there, they said, hey, you know, we take our kids out there, but there's nowhere for us to sit.
They go on their sheets.
Exactly.
I know.
So if we can look into that, because we definitely would like people to utilize.
That's one of the reasons why aluminum slides and
Makes sense. That makes sense. Any more questions?
Yeah, when we were growing up, we got scalded with them.
I shocked the other day. I ate shocked. Mr. Boyd, you have the floor. Treasurer's report.
Month of February, we dispersed $188,000. Our tax assessment was $1,991,000. Got $832,000 left. Breakdown of this month, we collected about $141 per year. We're ahead on the current year taxes, $107,000 versus prior year. A little bit behind on the delinquent collection, $2,000. As far as the budget, we went into this in more detail last month. We're over the budget, look at pro rata monthly basis, about $200,000. But that's because we bought the excavator, the semi, the low trailer, and also there was an extra 5-week payroll that was in there. So there are some reasons why it's hard.
Anybody have a question for Mr. Boyd?
Yes, Mr. Boyd.
what about the money that we talk about, that we were gonna request from the law?
Well, the way we left that last time is we need to decide how much we're gonna build,
We heard
what
the
we're
same.
gonna do.
Talk about it.
So we need to, in order to get a bond, you've got to know it. In order to do the bond, you have to decide what you're gonna spend. Get probably some engineering stuff done, and then obtain bond financing. It's a process. First thing is agree on what you're actually going to borrow. Because I presented those numbers that show what kind of payments it would be. It's not going to change that much. So we sort of know what the outlook is.
Did we talk about 2 billion or 2 million and a half?
I mean, those numbers were put out there, but the first step is to try and get the bond. First step is to do the engineering of what you're going to do.
Correct.
You got- So
How much money do you think we should ask?
we're not at the stage of
Because we need the money.
Here's the thing. So if we go get a bond, not against it, but you just can't go to ask for money. They're gonna ask, where's it going toward, what type of projects, you have a scope, you have, exactly, they're gonna say, hey, well, I've got 2 million to go by, going,
What operation?
they wanna know exactly how you're gonna, so what happens.
paid for through the tax rates. You've got to come up with no tax. Something with tax to pay back the dike.
Yes, sir.
You have this new tax. Do the debt service.
So, we already discussed that we were gonna use the money for 3 roads. That's the road, then, okay, right?
I don't think so. I don't recall that.
What do you mean you don't recall it? Were we in the same meeting?
There was a lot of discussion,
Talk about it.
consensus.
Because then you said how much money we need to wait for,
Send him the video
for
for
Hannah.
last minute.
Yeah, I want to see the video.
Can we play that back now?
Mr. Chairman, I will tell you, so you all know this. Money is the cheapest it has been in 40 years. Sure. When I say cheap, the cost of money is called interest rate. You all know it's gone up and it's going to go up. I believe, I'm no financial genius, but I've read that it's going to go up significantly in the next couple of years. So if you're going to do it, you should do it now. If not, that's
And you
fine.
want to talk about those roads? You want to.
As John Boy said, you don't go for the bond first. You have to design a project, price it, get it certified by an engineer, the cost, the specifications, then you go to the bond market. And like, for example, if you were to borrow 3 million, just for one example, 10 to 15% of that is what they call transactional costs. You have to hire, not me, a separate bond counsel. You have to hire a financial consultant to run the numbers and look at our budget and tell the bank, yes, they're fiscally sound. Yes, they can have enough money to make the debt service. And so it's a process that will take almost a year. So my only point is that if it's something that you're interested in, I recommend you pull the trigger now. They did statistics now. Actually today I read an article. So the home market is holding on. Just because it's projected that mortgage rates will go up 0.5 point to a point in the next 12 months. That alone increases the cost of a house on a 30-year mortgage by 20 to 25%. It's huge. And so the cost to the district, it goes up a point. I mean, it's a lot. So it's still relatively low. One day real soon you need to give us some serious thought. We talked about the swales today, just doing the swales. Going down every street, regrading the swales, shooting the elevations, reinstalling culverts. I know it's measured in millions. I don't know how much,
But
but
it's about
paving roads. Somebody told me it was $4 million.
About it later.
So whatever you do want to do,
We need to get it off.
just really give us some thought.
Are you finished with the report, Mr. Moore? Any questions for Mr. Moore? All right. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mr. Romero?
Yes, I went over the things like the court case involving Ramos. But it was pointed out to me by somebody who was at the court, there was one, it's not in the court's judge order that I saw, but Mr. Ramos is also required to write a letter of apology to the court.
It's in the back,
Is it in the back? Okay,
the
so,
second page.
second page.
I was reading it when you give it back.
To the board or to Deputy Dominguez?
To the paper says to the Deputy Dominguez.
That's what I saw.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought.
See, that was,
Right under,
Page 2.
right under special conditions,
yeah,
it says on 12,
oh, there it is, defendant shall write a letter of apology to Deputy Dominguez.
That's what I thought.
On or before August 9th of 2022, so he's got plenty of time. Long one. The point that I talked about, mitigation bank, talked about water management district, reservoir. The only other issue is, there was a question posed at the last meeting about observers in the election. So, the election that's overseen by the supervisor of elections, Ms. Hughes has her own policy about observers, and they have to stand within a certain distance from the voting facilities and all that, so that's her. For the landowner's election, we could have observers. We would need to, I would need to draft and present to you a resolution as to what the rules are. And I would recommend that we not reinvent the wheel and pretty much follow the rules of most supervisors of elections.
Yes.
They have to, people don't want to feel intimidated when they're voting, so they've got to keep a distance. Usually, you all vote here, but when I go to vote, they have like literally a roped off area. And observers have to stay in that roped area. So if you want, I can draft a policy and
That's fine.
that's it. Yeah, you want, is that the consensus?
Yes, sir.
You got it. That's all I got.
Anybody have any questions for the attorney?
Yes, I believe I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question from, well, we're gonna run background checks here for the employees,
Absolutely.
or we're gonna hire an employee.
Since we instituted that, within months of my coming here, and since Emilio and Becky have been around, we absolutely, so I have a service, I think it's like $60, $65. We do background checks on everybody. When the report gets issued, I send it to Becky and Emilio. I read it too, because sometimes there's some legal mumbo jumbo in it.
And this investigation, they do a criminal investigation?
Oh, yes. It's usually a report about 20, 30 pages, every place you ever lived in your life, and any time. Now, remember, if you're arrested, we can't hold, you have to be convicted of a crime, not arrested for a crime. There's a difference, because people can be arrested and then be deemed innocent. So a lot of times, I'll get a phone call from Emilio or Becky saying, hey, I see they got arrested, and I sometimes have to make some phone calls and look into it to make sure it didn't result in
Make a
conviction.
minute. How do you call these computers, FCIC?
Well, for criminal histories, it's FCIC
FCC stands
for Florida and NCIC for national.
Yeah. What I'm saying is,
I think that's something unique to what you have access to, right? Do
No,
I have access to
no.
that?
That's your criminal
the
history. It
criminal
goes
history.
in
Maybe
there.
that's what, maybe that's what the
Because-
company
because-
does.
the thing is, those computers are the one that tell you the criminal record of the person. If the person or the agency that is doing the investigation on the background checks is not checking on those two computers, they don't know if the person have a criminal record or not, or criminal history or not.
Yeah.
Because it's on FCIC, so Florida Criminal Investigation Center, right?
Yeah, and then
NCIC
and for
is
national.
for National Criminal Investigation Computer, right? So if they don't check on those computers,
I
the
will,
person can have,
no, you're right.
the person can have a criminal record, and they don't find out.
Right. I will double check, I'm positive that this company, with that's all they do, this background checks do that, because we get a report, I mean,
Every single address, every car,
everything they've ever done in their
everything.
life.
Yeah, but listen.
No, I understand, I will check, I will check.
Because I checked on the email that Becky put on on employee, on the last employee that we hired, and I didn't notice nothing that says check on the NCIC or FCIC.
So, Becky, I mean, if you look at that report, that we should say at the very top what they look at, but I would be.
Because that's, if you're a lawyer, something.
No, I
That's all you-
believe it.
If anybody has to clean and anything else is personal information.
Gotcha. Double check.
Thank you, Mr.
Well,
Romero.
we have had, if you may, we have had some background checks come back that it does come out with a criminal records and it's been there.
Oh, we've gotten several.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, my point is,
Yes.
you can check if we
Yes,
are doing on the national criminal computer.
I will check. That makes sense.
All right, we're gonna go to our supervisor report. Mr. Alvarez, you have the floor.
I'm good.
All right, Mr. Santana?
Yes, sir, So, sir. Very, yo, I like you, please. I know. I guess Bunny is right. I thought about my, coming down
Thank you, sir. Supervisor Santiago, you have the floor.
Yes. I spoke with Bell City Midway, which does a lot of local festivals, fair events, the Strawberry Festival.
Take it easy,
stuff like
bro.
that. And then I also spoke with another company. Bell City, which is closest to us, which does the Cluison one, they said that they wouldn't mind doing our festival for us. The only thing is it intertwines with another one of their festivals. So I asked them, I said, what do they think about a later time within the month? They said that they're gonna overcheck it with me to see how their schedule is. But I got with the other company that does all of Florida as well as the Lehigh. They do bigger ones than Bell City. And they told me, they said May is usually the hot season for them. So if you don't have looking close to $1 million or more, some of these venues, some of these places won't come.
Understood.
They said if we're gonna start small and we start in December as a winter thing, nowhere in the state of Florida do they have anything with this nature in the month of December in the state of Florida. Bell City and this other company are the two biggest companies in the whole nation. So when I spoke with both of them, they both did say in their schedules, December is dead. There's no festivals in December. It's a hot season. Because we have a lot of people who do come into the state for the holidays, but as well as the ones that don't leave for the holidays, they have nothing to do when all their kids are here. So they both are going to break it down to me on another scale. One of the gentlemen, he wanted to know what exactly we're going to do put together. So I took a few of the events from the Strawberry Festival, from Lehigh Germain Arena, Collier County Fair, Palm Beach, Belgrade, and Clewiston, and I put it all into a chart that they broke it down and explained it for me. I didn't bring the chart. But basically, if we create a committee, we rent the equipment, they said, and we advertise. We get an advertising company, and they advertise it. They put it on the newspaper, TV, phones, everything. They said if we start this, they said they'll need once we agree on it, they said they'll get a deposit. The carnival people, they said they'll need a deposit the beginning, mid, and then the day before. And they said we can look at getting back and funding. Every dollar that is revenue from this event is ours, because we're not doing a percentage. All these other events do a percentage because they don't want to rent the equipment. Because it's our first time, it's a liability for these companies, so they don't want to take that liability. So what they told us was the smartest thing for you guys to do is to rent it and pour some funding into advertising. Because nowhere in the state do they have an event at this time, but they said if you do an event at this time, and you get this advertising company to do it for you, you're looking at $500,000 back in revenue alone. And they said, if you want to do it the following year, you can use that revenue again, or you can fundraise. They also said that getting with a advertising company, they will also find sponsors like banks, phone companies, big arenas that will sponsor the whole event moving forward. So they said that if we move within these upcoming months, they said by April, mid-April, if we don't have a decision, it'll be too late because it is at the end of the year, to put it on their calendar. If we have a decision by April to move forward with it, to get the group and everything started, they said hopefully, because it is a year, a couple months in ahead, basically a year, they said that we can look at more than what they're estimating. But they said from their history of putting on events like this, as of right now, if we wait until April to make a decision, we're looking at $500,000. But if we speed up the process and try to get it before the end of April into May, we can look at close to $1 million in revenue back just from this amount.
Go ahead.
And that's for the festival. I told them about May. They said May's the hot season for them. So they said we have to pick another month. And that was the two biggest companies. But they gave me December. They said December is good. So I said I'll bring that to the board.
And they get with stuff our size.
Yes. They said what they said was actually what happened. One of the companies was sharing with me. He says that Lehigh Acres, what they do is that's how they make a lot of their funding for their roads. He said the first year they did it, they poured, I think he said $200K into the event, and he says they got back $1 million that following year. They re-revenued it, the same thing again the year after that, and over I think a 3-year span of them doing that, the event started funding itself, and they said that's what they put it on. And the company themselves says we're no longer going to allow you to rent our equipment, you're going to have to do the percentage now because now you're bringing in $1 million. So the percentage I think that the company gets is 25%. They get 75. But they said that this is the best way that districts adopt this because when it brings in funding, it brings in people, it brings in businesses, and it helps your community grow into a newer direction. And that's why I wanted to get with it. Is if we're going to move in that direction and we need funding and we need all this stuff to happen, I think this is the way we do it. Because companies want capital. When they get capital, it's by branding. If they can brand on an event that we can bring in revenue, they're willing to risk it. And then the other thing on here was for the, if you go to the side, there's 2 packets. there's two packets. There's one from Dodge, and then there's one from Chevy. These are their estimates for vehicles for CCWCD trucks and vehicles moving. This is a theoretical move. This is, you know, with years to come, you know, we're gonna have to start rolling out some trucks. Our trucks are getting to their age, they are out there. So I said I contacted Ford. Ford won't have trucks for 2 years. Chevy has a full lot right now. They said that they can hold the trucks for us for a 3-month span. And Dodge is doing the same thing for us to make a decision, to look over the numbers and then analyze it and tell them what we're gonna do. Dodge's estimate price monthly is $5,376.25, but it also comes with these two packets are what they're offering us if we go with them. They did say that they can lowball every other company and still offer us this deal. They said this is the best deal they can do. Their deal is actually better than all the other ones. It offers us, you know, it says it right here, GPS tracking so we can track where all the vehicles are. Location, geoforce if any of the vehicles are broken into, damaged, in a crash, it gives us that log. Speed alerts, if any of the vehicles are proceeding at a certain speed, it'll notify us. Battery alerts, if the batteries are low. Also, the dealership will also notify management or the board, if we stipulate that, of updates, that the vehicles need to be maintenance, oil changes. They are giving us a life, let me read it, what they told me in my notes. They'll give us both of these packets if we go with them. This is what Dodge said. If we go with Dodge, they're offering this to us in writing. This is all amending. It's a one-time fee, as well as a lifetime of oil changes. I did tell them I need that in writing because I don't want them to stipulate anything that they say later on. So they are going to put that in writing. And then Chevy gave us their fleet cost for the vehicles. I did tell them, can we have it where after, you know, a certain amount of years, we return the vehicles to you, like a government contract agreement, or after a certain amount of years, you know, you get the vehicles back, you can resell them for a lower rate for newer vehicles. Chevy said due to the economy and the over demand for trucks, they can't do that at this moment. And every dealership was given their opponent's bidding numbers, and every company didn't change their numbers, even though they were higher than others. The only company that was flexible and did change their numbers dramatically was Dodge. Dodge was at $500, over $500,000. When I showed them Chevy's new quote, they dropped it and added all of that stuff onto it. They said that they'll be willing to work with us moving forward if we want to work with them. I said I'll bring it to the board.
Is this government pricing?
Yes.
Government pricing?
They did take the taxes out, but they said that we have to come up with a decision, because if we say yes, we're going to be looking into it, and I get back to them, they're going to give us a rough, our bid. This is just a rough draft estimate. This is changed, by the way. Like I said, theirs was the highest at first, and then they dropped it all the way down to 3-something. And they said they're willing to work with us if we work with them, so that's why I was more lenient towards them and showing you Chevy's in there. I can bring Ford's next meeting to show you. Ford's is the only one that didn't change. And these are the 3 big trucking companies that government agencies use. I also got with Dodge, because Dodge is actually the biggest government distributor right now for water control districts, and as well as the district. The district uses Dodge. So they said that if we go with them and work with them, they can also drop the price a little bit more with government agreements.
So let me ask you something.
Yes.
What do we need these vehicles?
Well, if you take the time to come look at our fleet of vehicles and look at the mileage, and you go to any other district, their vehicles don't look like that. And after a certain amount of time, they switch out their vehicles for newer vehicles, and plus our vehicles are hitting their mark where we're pouring more money into trying to keep them alive compared to getting newer vehicles. And they can also, that was a 5-year estimate for the 5,000. They can also do 6, 7, and 8.
Are our vehicles running right now?
Yes.
What he's saying is, most districts, most cities, most counties.
Well, we got no we can run with them.
what he's trying to show you is how most people operate. At 100 and some thousand, they change their fee. We can run them to their ditch. That's not what he's saying. He's just saying how the industry works. That's what it's saying.
What he's trying to say, for example, is our mechanical vehicle is close to 220,000 miles. And it's beat up. We can barely pull anything with it because the engine.
That's what I wanted from that.
We're getting to the point where if we don't move on a decision or some notion, we're gonna get to the point where we won't have any vehicles and we're gonna be rushing to purchase them and we won't have these deals. The only reason these numbers are low right now is because one, the market is in high demand, so everybody wants to buy them, and certain dealerships are willing to work. So that's why I brought all this to your attention. So,
Thank you, man.
it's your call.
We appreciate it. Let's sit this digest.
I eat.
Oh, you wanna go back?
Yeah, I had something to say. Very confused. Yeah, Mr. Bernie.
Go right ahead.
I did the best I could.
Yeah, I want to mention something here. I want to congratulate Deputy Dominguez. He has done it. He has been doing a great job here in Cultura Ranch. Here is the statistic of 2021. The above chart shows that property crime decreased 62 to 41% when comparing from 2020 and 2021. Okay, so it shows an increase in crime here in 2062, 41%. Okay, I just want to mention that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your service.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dominguez.
I don't have anything to add. That's pretty much it. So can we get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
No move.
We have a motion on the floor, second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everyone. Meeting is adjourned.